What is decolonization? Decolonization is notoriously difficult to define. We are faced with an assortment of opinions, approaches, practices, and even subversions. The South African scholar Leslie Lagrange summarizes the complexities of defining decolonization in 4 succinct points. First, there is no single meaning to decolonization. Second, decolonization does not have to be destructive. It could also be a creative process. Third, decolonization is a process, not just an event. Fourth, decolonization does not mean turning back the clock to a time when the world was a different place. It needs to speak to contemporary challenges. Faced with these 4 points, we will tell 2 stories that will elucidate a coherent vision of decolonization. We begin with the decolonial turn of Immanuel Levinas, a French philosopher of Lithuanian Jewish ancestry. As a young man, Levinas was enchanted and fascinated with Martin Heidegger's work. Levinas believed that no serious philosopher could bypass the work of Heidegger. He considered Heidegger's Being in Time as one of the greatest works of philosophy. However, Levinas's devotion to Heidegger was conflicted by Heidegger's early support of the Nazi regime. Heidegger saw in a Führer a leader that could take the people or the Volk to the path of national authenticity. Although Heidegger's affiliation with the Nazi regime was not long, it was firm and strong, and he never made an apology to the Jewish people. Disillusionment overcame Levinas. It became clear that Heidegger's affiliation with the Nazi regime was not only a matter of personal preference, there was something implicit in the ontology of Heidegger that had made it okay to affiliate and support the Nazi party. Even though Levinas was invested in Heidegger's ontological project, he had to take a step back. Levinas needed a new starting point that would not be complicit nor lead to dehumanization and suffering, to develop an alternative way of seeing himself. Although he didn't turn his back on the canons of European philosophy, he adapted these works and filled in the gaps with his own culture. This is the essence of decolonization. The second story is the decolonial turn of Frantz Fanon, the central figure of decolonization. In his first book, Black Skin, White Masks, he speaks about his encounters with racism in the 1940s. From these encounters, one particular incident stands out. While riding a train in Lyon, Fanon is accosted and othered by a young white child who relates to his mother his fear of seeing a black person. At first, the child yelled, "Look, a Negro," of which Fanon tried to smile and brush it off. The child utters again, "Look, a Negro, Mama." He smiles and brushes it off once again. Then the child yells, "Look, a Negro, I'm scared, I'm scared. The Negro's going to eat me." Fanon couldn't laugh anymore. He was clearly affected. He speaks of wanting to transport himself far, far away. He was no more than a color. His education, his politeness, his humanity meant nothing. He was objectified, an intense depersonalization. The boys refer to this state as inaudibility. Ellison called it invisibility. Baldwin regarded it as namelessness, and Johnson referred to this as epidermalized. A panicked Fanon looked to European writings that could explain his turmoil. He found nothing. He found no explicit materials in the canon to explain what it's like to be racialized and categorized in such a way. Why would he find something? The great works of Europe were written by men who did not share his experience. This realization created an awakening. He needed to search within himself. The great Europe didn't have all of the answers. He would still utilize European works, but he would utilize his own lived experiences to develop a way of understanding his own being. This is the decolonial turn. This is the essence of decolonization. I would like to end this video with a quote which speaks to the decolonial turn undertaken by Levinas and Fanon. Eurocentric knowledge acts as a kind of distorting mirror. Because of it, for a very long time, we have been what we are not, what we never should have been, and what we will never be. And because of it, we never catch any of our real problems, much less solve them. except only in a partial and distorted way. When you realize that you cannot go any further down a prescribed road, and you have no choice but to forge a new path. That is the definition of decolonization. That is the decolonial turn. When did your decolonial turn happen?